Hey everybody, do not take it seriously here today on the Burns redo. We are reviewing Runaway this week, and I'm excited because I like this movie. Well, like's an understatement. I love this movie. This is a great movie. You have to realize though, when watching this movie, it's important that you don't think of it as a futuristic movie because it's not. You can tell that it's not a futuristic movie by looking at the storyline, by looking at where they're filming, and the fact that the robots are as tall as my youngest son and bulky. I mean, they're very boxy, and they're not like robots today. You can obviously tell that. And even though it was done in the 80s, the film, you would think that if they were going to make it futuristic, they would make everything futuristic. And the only thing that would mildly seem futuristic is the fact that there are robots. So I kind of picked up on that when I first watched it, and I realized that it was just the advancement of robotics during the 80s. That's what the storyline was supposed to be about. It was meant to be set in the period that it was filmed in, just with robots that go crazy and are no longer responding to their programming. They go rogue, kind of like Sarah Palin. Side point. They're controlled by this evil madman who is none other than Gene Simmons. I mean, come on. How can you not love that? You have to love the idea that Gene Simmons is this like man playing the evil villain, and oh man, when you see the looks he makes in this film, the deadpan stares, it creeps you out. I thought he was very good. And it's funny because I looked up online, and I didn't know this before. For him to get the part, Michael Crichton actually called him in and had him sit for 1 minute, 60 seconds, and stare at him without any emotion on his face, and he hired him after that, just because of the stare and the look that he had, and it was very menacing, you know. So I thought that was really cool to know. It's just, he's just a great evil guy. I don't know, I can't say enough about it. But I also didn't know that it was directed and written by Michael Crichton, so there are no dinosaurs though, I promise. Even though he's known for that quite a bit. The storyline itself is pretty intense in some areas, but that's due to the way it was filmed. The cinematography, I think, for the movie was great, in the sense that they only used what they needed to express the feeling in that scene. There weren't the 360 degrees of Michael Bay. Not that Michael Bay's bad, it's just sometimes those, circular pans kind of make me sick. But another beside the point, but just the way it was shot was really neat, and you can tell by quite a few scenes, but one scene that stands out to me in particular is the scene with the projectile and Tom Selleck's partner, her name's Thompson, in her arm, and she has this projectile, that explosive obviously, that's embedded into her arm, and they're going to bring this robot in to take it out, and it's an older robot, and he gets all upset because he doesn't want that robot used, and you see the emotion, well up in him because of the fear and concern for his partner. And they show it by the certain, zoom in looks and the lighting, the way it was done. And then when you see his partner sitting on the ground and he's trying to extract this projectile, and they pan to just her face, they use minimal lighting and they bring it in close so you can feel and understand what she's going through. And it really puts you in the scene, I think, when they do that. And then when they switch back to his face, obviously, he's, trying to pull this bullet out, and you can tell that he's, focusing, and he's frustrated, but he's really trying to do this without blowing her arm off. And I don't know, I just think that was really great the way they pictured that. And then when they show the x-ray of the projectile, and they only show just, that box of the x-ray, they don't have all of this extra stuff, in the scene. It's not background with that, and you're trying to focus on two different things. It's just that. So you're looking at just the x-ray. That kind of, really shows exactly what he's doing and puts you in the moment too, because you see this bone, and then you see this projectile through the bone, and, you're sitting there on the edge of your seat, biting nails, hoping to God her arm doesn't get blown off. And I really, really thought that was a good suspenseful scene in the movie. There are some funny points though too, like the robot that runs Tom Selleck's house and that keeps his son in line, which is the kid from Flight of the Navigator. It's really funny because he talks to the robot like she's his wife, and the robot, I say she, giving it, familiarity, but the robot takes on a wifely role. And it's just really, really funny to watch because she calls him and makes sure that he's going to be home on time, that he's not going to be late, that she'll have dinner ready, and you know, all the stuff that a wife would do or someone living at home would do, maid otherwise. And it's just funny because he gets home and he brings his partner, and then the robot asks, you know, should I put, you know, her in memory? And he's like, yes, she's my partner now. And it's just funny because having a society get to that point where you have a robot that you can say, oh no, don't put that person in memory. It's kind of like the like, dislike, add a friend on Facebook in a way. Just more extreme with robots. I just thought that was funny. I thought that was really cute, the way the robot was. And then you can tell he is kind of standoffish towards women. And that's probably because he lost his wife, which he explains in the storyline. But he has this hesitancy, and that really comes out when he goes to save Kirstie Alley from this zapping robot, and he goes in, and he obviously, you can tell he likes his partner, but he doesn't want to express that because he just met her, and he does the flirting thing. You know, he can flirt just fine, but you can tell the relationship part of it's just not there for him. And he goes in to save Kirstie Alley, and he's supposed to wear all this gear, and he sees her in there, and obviously, you know, it's Kirstie Alley, and he's like, oh my God, right? Has this look on his face like, oh, I definitely have to save her, you know, be the knight in shining armor. And he goes in without all of the gear on, and his partner kind of, you know, pokes fun at him by saying, oh, well, he's in love, you know, he doesn't need the gear, and he gets a little bit upset about that, but it's just funny the way it happens, and he kind of has this triangle going on between Kirstie Alley and his partner throughout the movie, and it's just it's interesting to see his character evolve from closed off at the beginning to opening up towards the end. When he has to save his son from Luther, and he's, you know, Luther has him at the top of this construction site, and his son obviously knows his dad's going to save him, but he, you know, Tom Selleck, he has vertigo. He doesn't like heights. And at the same time, he has, you know, his son that he's got to save, plus his partner that he's got to save. And it's kind of a, you know, which one do I do? And he's stuck in the middle, and you can really see everything his character's going through, you know, on his face and his reactions, what he's doing. And they really pull that together well, and they make it a very intense, you know, suspenseful moment, basically. And it's just, you know, it's really, really good, I think, to see a character evolve like that, because it pulls you into the movie and makes you want to continue watching, obviously. And you get all the way to the end, and you have all this, you know, attachment to this character, and you see what he's going through, and you sit on the edge of your seat, you know, rooting for him. And that's one of the things that makes a movie really good, when you can actually sit on the edge of your seat and you're concerned for the character. That, to me, that makes a movie really good. Some of the funny stuff, though, if you watch really closely, when Tom Selleck's partner, is giving the tech officer the pointers as to the sketch for Luther, and they're doing it on this little pad, basically, and it has a picture on it and stuff, and you look at that picture while they're putting it together, he blinks. Luther blinks in the picture, and it's so funny. And the other thing that I thought was funny was they have a video of Luther, a little short snippet of it that they could just freeze and use that for a picture from the door alarm, you know, the door recorder, basically, that they use, not alarm, recorder. And they don't use that either. It's like they're trying to show that they had technology, but it was one of the flaws they missed in the movie. But I thought that was funny, because it's one of those cheesy flaws, you know. And let's see. I'm trying to think what the other thing was. There was another funny thing, too, where, it's where Tom Selleck's going into a house at the beginning, and he's going in to save this baby, and he puts on this shirt of metal, and they call it something else, but it's chainmail. And it's just funny because they don't just say chainmail, and then he puts on all the other pads to go in to keep him from being, you know, stabbed or blown up. And I always thought that was kind of funny, though. They called it something completely different. But seeing robotic spiders at the end attacking, and knowing that there were so many of them, that gave me the creeps. Because I don't like spiders, and then to think that they're robotic and that they might have a brain that they're going to use to adapt to whatever I'm doing to come after me still, that kind of got to me a bit. I'm sure when it first came out, like, people were like, oh wow, you know, robotic spiders and stuff. And I could tell, obviously, robotic spiders, they're not going to do anything. But when you get so into the film, you know, and you let yourself get sucked into it, it's one of those things that you, I don't know, maybe guilty pleasure for an 80s cheese fest, but I don't know, I thought that was really cool. And it was suspenseful to me, obviously, because there are these spiders that you don't know what they're going to do, and they're a piece of machinery, and there are so many of them, you know, it's a little creepy, it is. But this is still, I think it's a great film. If you haven't seen it, you need to go out and watch it. But it's just one of those 80s, you know, classic cheese films. Guilty pleasure, whatever you want to call it. It's an all-around great film. I think it's awesome. It withstands the test of time, I think. So if you haven't seen it, go out and watch it, because it's a great film and I love it. Absolutely love it. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review, and I'll see you next week.